Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. In today's video, we will talk about the most important topic in JavaScript, and that is objects. JavaScript objects are like the heart of the programming in JavaScript. They allow us to store, organize and manage data in a clean and powerful way. Whether you are working on a simple app or you are building a large scale project, objects give you the flexibility to represent real world entities. Like we can make a user profile like a car, or even a shopping cart is represented by an object. Once you understand how objects works, you will unlock the ability to write cleaner, smarter and more efficient code. In today's video, we are going to explore objects in detail. We will break down that what are the properties of the object, and we will also see that how methods bring objects to life with functionality, and how destructuring makes it super easy to extract data with just a few lines of code. We will also see some of the built-in methods that we can use with objects. By the end of this session, you won't just understand objects, you will actually enjoy working with them because they will make your coding journey smoother and way more fun. Alright, so in VS Code, first of all, I will create a new file and I name it as objects.js. So let's start with the very basics, that how do we actually create an object in JavaScript? It is very simple, just by using curly braces. For example, if I want to create an object of a car, so what I will do, I will write const car equal sign, and after it I will write curly braces. That's it. Now I create an object and the name of object is car. It is a very simple way to represent a car as an object. So there are some properties of the object and these properties contain some values. So how we can write them? We can write the properties and values by key value pairs. So first I will write property. We have created an object car. So car has many properties. For example, car has name, car has model number, it has a manufacturing year, that in which year it is manufactured. So car has a lot of properties. So I write some of them. So I write here the property brand. So which brand of car it is. The brand name of our car is Tesla. We write our second property is that what is the model of the car. So model of car is like model S, and after it we can write year, that in which year it is manufactured. So I can write here it is manufactured in 2024. So now here brand, model and year, these are the properties of the object and each property holds a value. Think of it that properties like labels on different parts of our object, and these properties describes that what actually it is. For example, in this example, brand will tell us that which is the company, and the model will tell us that what variant of car it is, and the year will tell us that when it was made. Now the amazing thing is that properties can hold different types of values. They don't always have to be string or numbers. For example, if I add one more property, that if I want to know that if this car is electric, so I write here is electric. So now I can write here boolean value. For example, if I write here true, so now in this case our new property is electric and its value is a boolean, which is true. This makes our object more realistic because now we know that whether the car is electric or not. We can also store the array inside an object. For example, if I write here a new property that is features of the car. So what are the features of the car? So now here in the features, I can store an array. For example, our car has so many features, like our car is autopilot, and we can also write that our car has smart navigation, our car is wireless charging, that we can charge our car wirelessly. So now these properties tell us about the multiple features of the car. Arrays as a properties are super useful when we need to group related items together. And finally, properties can even hold another object inside. For example, if I create a new property, so now I can create a new property that who is the owner of the car. Okay, so it is an object. So here inside the object, inside the owner object, I can write the name of the owner. Name will be John, and I can also create a second property of the owner, that what is the email of the owner, So this is the email of the owner. So I can create one more property of the owner, that what is the contact number of the owner. So now I create a new property owner and I store a new object inside this owner property. So now you see that I store almost every data type inside our object. So now this makes our object like a mini database. It can describe not only the car but also details about who owns it and what are the features of the car, what is the year, model. So all the properties we can summarize here. So properties are the backbone of any object. They can be string, numbers, booleans, arrays, or even other objects. And that's the beauty of JavaScript objects. We can build rich, structured data that mirrors the real world in our code. Now we have seen that what are the properties of the object and how they can store different types of data in them. Now let's talk about something that actually brings objects to life, and that is methods of the objects. A method is a simply function that lives inside an object. Think of it like properties describes that what an object is, while methods describes us that what an object can do. So if we take this car example, so if the properties tells us that what is the car brand, model, or what is the year of the car, similarly a method could be something like start the car or stop the car. So we can store also method. So here after the owner property, I create a new method. So I name it as start. So now this start will be a function which is stored inside the car object. This object we can call whenever we want to start our car. So if I just write here a function, it is a simple function. So here inside function, I just write console.log and I write here that the car is starting. So now whenever we call this start method of the car object, it runs that function and it will gives us this console. So now basically we give some action to our object. We give some behavior to our object. So if I want to call this start function, so how I will write? I will write just car dot start and parenthesis. That's it. So now when if I run this file, we will give this in our console. So if I save the file and if I run the file, so you see we are getting our message, the car is starting. The same console that we write inside our function, which is start function. But methods can do a lot of more things just than the logging text. So method can actually use the object's own properties. To using the object's own properties, we use a special keyword, and that is this keyword. For example, if I write here a one more method and the method name will be drive, and it is also simple a function. So here I just write here console.log and I am using backticks. So now I write here that driving the Tesla Model S car. So now you see that I write here that driving the Tesla Model S car. So now Tesla is the brand of the car and Model S is the model of the car. But now at this time I just hard code of these things, but I can actually use its own properties of the object. For example, instead of Tesla, if I want to use this property which is brand, so how to use this? Instead of Tesla, what I will write here, I will use the dollar sign curly braces. So here inside curly braces I write this keyword, so this dot. So here this refers to the object itself, so it will automatically picks up the properties of the object. So if I write here after this dot, so you see all the properties are here, brand, drive, feature, is electric. So all the properties are listed here. So now here which property I want to use? I want to use brand property. So I write here this dot brand. So now the brand name will come from the property of the object. Similarly, instead of model S, I will use the property model. So how to do? Instead of model S, I will just write dollar sign and curly braces. So I will use this keyword. So I write here this dot. What I want to use? I want to use model property. So this dot model. That's it. So now if I call the drive function, so you will see that I'm getting the console driving the Tesla Model S car. If I just write here car dot drive method, so now it will call this function, which is a drive function, and we will get our this console. So if I save the file and if I run the file, so you see the car is starting, which is our first method, car start. After it, our second console will be driving the Tesla Model S car. We are getting our this console. So now if we change the brand or the model name in the object, this method will update accordingly. This thing makes methods really powerful because they always work with the latest value of the object. We can also have the multiple methods inside the same object. So if we start the car, similarly we want to stop the car. So I write here stop function. So this function will stop our car. So I write here the car is stopped. Similarly, if we want that what is the age of this car, that how many years will be passed after its manufacturing. So what I will write, I create a method. So get car age. So this method will gives us the age of the car, that how many years being passed after its manufacturing. So how to write this method? So it will be a simple function, and here inside the function what I will do, I will just return. So what I will return, I just write new and I'll use the date object of the JavaScript and I write here get full year. So now I will get the current year. So after it I will write minus. So now I'm using this keyword. So I write here this. So this refers to the object itself. So now I want to use the this year property. So I write here this dot year. That's it. So now this method will calculate that how old the car is just by subtracting the manufacturing year from the current year. So this method will show that methods can return values, perform calculations, and even interact with other properties. So in short, methods are the action heroes of the objects. They can transform plain data into something dynamic and useful data. Without methods, objects would just be static descriptions. But with methods, they become interactive and functional just like real-world entities. Now we have explored properties and methods. Let's talk about something new that makes working with objects super quick and efficient, and that is destructuring. What is destructuring? Destructuring is like a shortcut that lets us pull out specific values from an object into variables with just a single line of code. So let's take our previous example, which is a car object. So I write the car object here. So now normally what it happens that if I want to access the brand and model of the car or year of the car, so how to do this? So how to access these properties? So if I want to brand of the car, so I write here const brand and I write here that car.brand. That's it. Now if I just console.log brand, so you will see that in this console I will get this brand. So if I save the file and if I run the file, so you see I am getting the brand, which is Tesla brand. Similarly, if I want to access the model, so what I will do, I will write car.model. So instead of brand, if I just write here model, so if I save the file and again if I run the file, so you see now I am getting model of the car. This thing works that we can access the properties of the object like this. So this thing works, but if you see that it feels like a repetitive code, right? But using destructuring, we can simplify this to just simple one line of code. So how to use destructuring? So I write here const and I write here curly braces. So after it equal sign and I write the name of the object, and name of the object is car object. So just copy and write here car. That's it. So now inside the curly braces, I can destructure these two properties. So if I just write here that brand after comma, I can access a second property which is model. If I just comment these two and if I move this console.log after here, so now you see in one clean line we have created two variables, brand and model, and it automatically pulls the value from the object. Simple. So if I save the file and again if I run the file, so you see again I am getting the model of the car, but now this time using the destructuring. So the best part is that we don't have to destructure everything, just pick what we need. If I want to destructure more properties, that year or what are the other properties, that is electric, features, owner. So I write here is electric and features and owner. So you see here, I am destructuring how many properties? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I can destructure 6 properties in just one line. But if I use this approach by creating a variable and car.brand and car.model, so in this case, I have to write 6 lines of code. But now using only one line of code, I can destructure the 6 properties. We don't need to destructure everything. We just pick what we need. For example, if I want to destructure only one property, which is year, so that's it. I can write just year and I can write here year. So now I will get year. So if I save the file and if I run the file, so you see I am getting the manufacturing year. Now I only grab the year while ignoring rest of the all the properties. Another cool thing is that we can also rename the variables while destructuring. For example, you see that I destructure a property and its name is year. So we have here year. But if I want to rename this property year, so how to do this here in destructuring? So after it, I just write semicolon. So now after semicolon, I can declare my own name, whatever I want to use in my code. So for example, instead of year, I want to write here that year of manufacturing. So now instead of year, I will use this variable year of manufacturing in my code. So now if I save the file, so if I run the file, so you see here, I will get the year. But now I will change the name of the variable. The property inside the object is still year, but in my code, I can use this variable name, year of manufacturing. This is super handy when the variable names are clashes or whenever we want to a very descriptive name. So we can change the property's name or our variable names while destructuring. So now let's move into some of the deeper concepts. Destructuring is not limited to the shallow properties. We can also go to the deeper level. For example, we have this our object car, and inside this car object, we have another object which is an owner object. So now if I want to destructure this object, which is owner object inside the car object, so how to destructure this object? So let's take an example that I want to destructure only the name of the owner. So how to destructure it? So here, first of all, what I will do, I will destructure our main object, which is car object. So I write here that destructure the car object. So from the car object, what I want to destructure, inside the car object, I want to destructure this owner object. So I write here owner. So after it, what I will do, I will just write semicolon, and after it again I will use destructuring. So what I will do, I will just write curly braces, and inside this curly braces, I can destructure these 3 properties. So whatever I want, I can destructure these 3 properties. So in my case, I only want name. So I write here, I only want name. That's it. Just in one line, I can destructure the name of the owner. So now what is happening? First of all, I destructure the car object. Inside the car object, I destructure the owner object. So similarly, if I want to change the name of this variable, which is name, so I can also rename this variable. So I just write here name of owner. So I destructure the owner property from the car object, and inside the owner object, I destructure the name property, and I also change the name of this variable, name of this property. Inside the car object and inside the owner object, the property name will remain the name, but here in my code, I can use this variable, name of the owner. Now we have seen that how to create objects, how to add properties, and even how to use methods. Let's go one step further and look at some of the built-in object methods in JavaScript. These methods are super handy when we want to inspect, copy, or lock down our objects. And to keep it fun, we will continue with our previous car example. So let's take this previous car example. Our car object is here. So now we will see some of the built-in methods that we can use along with the object. The first method is object.keys method. This method will give us an array of all the keys inside the object. For example, if I just write here console.log and I write here that object.keys. So inside this method, I will provide my object name. So my object name is car. So I write here just car. So now this will gives us an array, and inside the array, we have all the properties of our object. So if I just save the file if I run the file, so you see we have an array, and inside the array I have all the properties: brand, model, year, is electric, features, and we have also method which is start, stop, get car age, drive. So I get all the properties, all the keys of the object. This method is very useful when we want to loop through all the properties of an object. The next method is object.values method. This method will gives us just the values of the properties. So if I just take the previous example car, so I just write here console.log and I write here object.values, and inside this method I will specify my object name which is car. So now if I save the file and if I run the file, so you see, I am getting all the values, that what is the brand, model, year, is electric, and these are the features. When we are using object.keys, we will get all the keys, and when we use object.values, we will get all the values of the properties. The next method is object.entries. This method combines both keys and values into pairs. This method is super useful when we want to loop through both property names and their values together. So if I just take the previous example, which is car, so I just write here console.log and I use the method object.entries, and inside this method I will provide my object name which is car. So now I will get the key value pairs of this object. So if I save the file and if I run the file, so you see key value pair. The first array is brand and its value is Tesla. The second is model and its value is Model S. Year 24, is electric, true. So now every array has the property and its value. So here property name, its value. Is electric is property name and true is its value. The next method is object.assign. This method allows us to copy properties from one object to another. For example, I just create a variable and I name it as car copy. So I am using the same car object. So here I will write object.assign. So inside assign method, I just write here a simple empty object, and after it I specify the object from which I want to copy the properties. So in my case it is car object. So now car copy, it has the exact same properties as the car. This is a great way to clone an object or merge two objects into one. So if I just console.log car copy, so now you will see that I will get exact the same object, that is the car object. So if I just save the file, if I run the file, so now you see I am getting an object and this object is the same as the car object. The next method is object.freeze method. This method locks the object so that there will be no changes can be made. For example, we cannot add more properties, we cannot remove the properties, or even we cannot update the properties. For example, if I just freeze our object, so I just write here object.freeze. So I just write here our object which is car object. So now our car object will be freezed. For example, before this method, what I will do, I will just write here that car.year and I change this property year, and instead of, so what is our property? So our property is I think 24. Yes, our year is 24. So I want to change this property. So instead of 24, I just write here that 21. So now here I change the value of the year. So now if I just console.log and I write car.year, so now what I will get 21. Why? Because I changed here which is 21. So if I just save the file and if I run the file, so you see I am getting 21 because I changed here. But when I said that object.freeze, so after this I cannot change. After this I cannot change. For example, if I just after freeze method, I just write here car.year. Here I changed 24 to 21. So now I changed 21 to 24. But now this time it is not allowed. Why? Because object will be freezed. After it, if I just again console.log and I write here car.year, so again I will get 21. Here I am changing the year of the car from 21 to 24, but here in this console I will get again the same, which is 21. So if I just comment this console, and now if I just save the file, you will see again I am getting 21. Why? Because here our object will be freezed. So if I just again run the file, so you see again I am getting 21. So now here car.year24, this line will not change the year of the car, but here this line will change. So this method is just like that, we put our object in a glass box, and which is very safe and untouchable, that if we freeze our object, that we cannot make any changes into our object. The next one is object.seal method. This method is similar to freeze method, but it's a little less strict. With the object.seal method, we cannot add or remove properties, but we can still update our properties. The properties that we already have in our object, we can update the existing one properties, but we cannot add new properties, or we cannot remove the existing properties. So this is what seal method will do. For example, if I just write here object.seal and I specify my object car. So now after it, if I just change the year, so I write here car.year. Our year is 24. I just write here that 2016. So now if I just console.log and I write here car.year, so you will see that I will get 2016. So if I just save the file and if I run the file, so you see I am getting 2016. Even though I use this object.seal method on the car, but still I can update our properties. But what happen if I want to add one more property? So for example, if I just write here that car.color and I name the color blue, and after it I just console.log that car.color. So now I will not get the color. Why? Because I seal my object, I cannot add one more property. If I run the file, so you see I am getting our first console, which is year of the car, which is 2016, but second will be undefined. Car.color is undefined. Why? Because I seal my object. And if I just write here before the seal method, so now in this case I will get the color. So if I just save the file and again if I just run the file, so you see now I am getting color blue and year is 2016, but before it was undefined. So whenever we seal our object, after it we cannot add more properties or we cannot remove the properties. So sealing is basically like locking the shape of our object, but still allowing us to change the content inside. The next method is object.create method. This method will let us create a new object with another object as its prototype. For example, if I just write here that electric car, and here what I will do, I will use the object.create method. So I write here object.create, and inside this method I will specify my previous object, which is car object. So I write here car. So now this will create a new object. After it, if I just write here that electric car dot battery, so our car also has a battery. So I write here that car dot battery is equal to, I can just write here that 100 kWh. So now electric car inherits from the car object, but it also has its own property. Think of it like making a new model based on an existing blueprint. So now electric car can inherit all the properties of the car object, but it also has its own property, which is battery. So if I just write here console.log and if I just write electric car, so now this will give me only one property of this object, which I declare here battery. So if I just save the file and if I just run the file, so you see I am getting only one property, which is battery, and its value is 100 kWh. But it can also inherit all the properties of the car object. For example, if I just write here that electric car dot brand, so now this property will coming from this car object and its brand will be Tesla. If I just save the file, so I will get the brand name, which is Tesla. So you see I am getting the brand name, which is Tesla. But this property will be inherited from the car object. It is not declared inside this electric car object. This property will be inherited from the car object. The next method is object.hasOwn method. This method checks that if a property actually belongs to the object itself, not its prototypes. For example, if I just take the car example, so I just write here that console.log and I write here object dot method name has on. So here in this method, first of all, I will specify the name of the object. This method will receive two parameters. First of all, name of the object, and the second is the property value, that what property I want to check. So first parameter is the name of the object. So our object is car, and second parameter is property. So I want to check that if brand property exists in our car object or not. So I write here brand. So now if this brand property will exist in our this car object, it will return us true, otherwise it will return us false. So now in this case our car has the brand property. So here we have the brand property. So now in this case it will gives us true. So if I save the file and if I run the file, so you see we are getting true. It means that this property exists in our object. So instead of brand, if I just write here brands, so now this property is not existing in our object. So now in this case it will gives us false. So now if I save the file and again if I run the file, we will get false. So you see we are getting false. This method is like it is asking from the object that, hey, do you really own this property or did you just borrow it from someone else? So this method is just like asking from the object that, do you really own this prop? This method is just like it is asking from the object that, hey, do you really own this property or not? If the object own this property, so it will gives us the true. If object don't own the property, or this property will be inherited from the other object, so in this case this method will gives us false. The next method is object.define method. This method will lets us define a new property with more control. For example, if I just write here that object.define property, and here in this method, first of all, I will write the name of the object, which is car, and second parameter is the property name. So our property name will be like, I want to add one more property in the car object and it will be color. So let's say it will be color. So after it, in the third object, we can also pass some attributes. So here I will write curly braces. So here inside the curly braces, I will define the value of the object. So I write here that value will be this one. So our color will be black. So after it, I can pass some more parameters. I can also write some more attributes like, so now if I just want to make this property read only property, so what I will do, I just writable will be false. So now our color property will only be readable property. So these are some of the most useful methods that you will be using with objects. That we have object.keys, object.values, entries, assign, freeze, seal, create, has on, and we have object.define property method. Each one serves a different purpose, whether it's inspecting, copying, locking, or controlling properties. Once you start using them, you will see that how powerful they make your object handling skills in JavaScript. And that's all about the deep dive into JavaScript objects. Today we explored that how to create objects, work with their properties, add functionality through methods, simplify our code with destructuring, and even took a tour of the most powerful built-in object methods. By now, you should feel more confident about handling objects and see how they form the backbone of JavaScript programming. But remember, learning doesn't stop here. Practice is the key. Try creating your own objects, play around with destructuring, and experiment with methods like object.keys, object.values, or even object.freeze to see that how they behave in real scenarios. The more you practice, the more you code, the more expert you will become. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your fellow learners. And I will see you in the next video. Until then, keep coding and keep growing.